Paying beats don't have to be complicated, you guys. And one of the main things I've learned is when you do your bass notes to build your chords off of, you look how I'm using these whole steps. You know, it goes from F to G to A. You could do a melody like this, or you could also experiment with doing the same type of melody going down instead of up. So you'll usually start with your bass notes just to kind of get the rhythm going. And then after that, you want to start building your chord off of it. I find with these pain type of beats, a lot of times you want to be in a major key. These major 7th chords and major 9th chords add that kind of tension so that the happy chords don't sound too happy. That's where kind of the tension and the pain comes from. And then go up the scale into these minor chords. It's going to give you an uplifting vibe since the chords are going up, but you're also going to throw in some notes from the minor chords too. And that also gives a little bit more tension. That's a big thing. Another tip is to make sure that you have a live feel to your beats. I like to hold Option and I like to drag notes just slightly off. As you can see, nothing is really hitting exactly on the grid. Now, it's all very close to being on the grid, but it is slightly off, and that's where a lot of the realism comes from. Main thing as well is to use good pianos. I really like this Noir piano. I've been using some of these pianos from my analog lab bank. This is the augmented piano. It sounds great. It has kind of a string sound to it. You hear that string swell in the background. That's great for adding some moodiness to your beats. And then also, you know, getting the bounce right for these type of beats is very important as well. I actually have included a lot of midis in my drum kit. This particular one, I'm using the double cup. Just need to try a couple different bounces, but this is what I got going for this pain beat. As you can see, I'm leaving space. Basically, how I would make this is I would make a 2-step hi-hat pattern, and then I would start taking some of the hi-hats out. And then once you've done that, that's when you start adding your rolls and spicing it up to add a little bit more bounce. All these drums are included in my Schaefer God drum pack. It's available now at producergod.com. If you guys go right now to my website, I have the drum kit 15% off. To get that discount, all you got to do is enter the code Zeus92 at checkout. So you'll be able to get 27 analog lab presets. It's my Schaefer drip, and I've got all kinds of stuff in here. I got sub basses, I've got some sick leads, I've got some pianos, some e-pianos. You know, this stuff is very good for trap and for pain beats. And then I've also pre-mixed all these drums. Like, this is my favorite hi-hat in the world. Like, listen to how it just... A lot of hi-hats I noticed sit too high in the frequency spectrum. So when you go to add vocals, you'll get the hi-hats clashing a lot with the vocals. I really like where the 777 hi-hat, it's my lucky hi-hat, it fits perfectly in the mix. You know, there's some hi-hats that are a little bit lower, and those work sometimes, but I find when the hi-hats go a little bit lower, it gets into that harsh range. And then sometimes the hi-hats that are a little bit higher can sometimes sound too thin. This is just one of the reasons I like this hi-hat. It just seems to be hitting just perfectly for me. Big thing too is to blend your claps with your snares. And they get a nice 808 that has some power to it, but it doesn't really overpower the music, but it does have some bite to it. I really like this Rattlesnake 808 for my drum kit. And then let me dive on into some of these leads and stuff. As you can really see, I'm just kind of going up and down the scale. It's nothing too complicated. I'm kind of using some harmonies. So basically I made the bottom melody first and then I added this on top just to kind of give it a more melodic feel. These trills, like when you go from two notes that are really close to each other quickly, that's where a lot of the bluesiness comes in. A combination of these bluesy notes, a little bit of harmony. You know, as you can see, these notes are pretty spaced out. And then the realism, obviously, of stuff being a little bit off. Make sure you're using 7th chords and 9th chords. That's where a lot of the tension is going to come in. And then just using some high quality pianos. The Noir is one of my favorite pianos. Again, I also like the augmented piano. I also like the Piano 5. Sometimes you might want to add a guitar lead. I've got this ample guitar I used in this beat. I think the main thing with strong melodies like this guitar here is you just got to make sure you bury it in the mix so that you have room for someone to put vocals on it. When you make your lead melodies and stuff kind of too loud, it can get in the way of someone writing. So you got to be real careful with the guitars. But as you can see, I have it blended in so quietly. Right, and as you can see, I'm using these trills again, switching from one note to the other note really quickly. That's where a lot of the realism comes in. You need a little bit of realism if you're going to be putting guitars, and you also need to use a high quality guitar. I do like the ample guitars. They sound pretty good for these kind of beats as well. Yeah, that's mostly it, guys. There's nothing crazy to these beats. It's all about choosing the right chord progression, building some nice leads on top of that, using some nice piano VSTs, maybe throwing in a vocal chop or two. And then also another thing is you want to get your speed right and your bounce right. I find the range for these type of beats is anywhere from 160 to even up to 180 in some cases. Just depends on the song. Like if you have a lot of space in your chords, it's good sometimes to use a faster tempo. That way it's filling in those gaps more. You don't want to have too much empty space. Usually with these pain beats, you'll have higher BPMs. I will also go over my master bus. All I like to use on the master bus for my beats is just a simple fruity limiter. As you can see, it's barely doing anything. It's just shaving off some tiny peaks, and that's all you really want the limiter to do. If you start going beyond that and making your beat too loud, you start to lose too much punch. One of the tricks I like to do is just put a fruity parametric EQ on the master and just turn it down. You don't really need to master your beats loud because your beats are going to get mastered after somebody puts vocals on the song. That's when it's going to get loud. So there's no real reason to master your beats right out of the gate, in my opinion. Anyways, that's all I got for you today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you find this video helpful, give me a like, a thumbs up to the video, and subscribe to my channel for more content coming soon, you guys. Thank you so much.